Hello and welcome to Hija de mi Padre podcast. I'm your host, Jules, and today's episode is brought to you by my car. I am recording this as I'm leaving work, and I thought this was a good opportunity just since I'm going to be sitting in traffic, and this is where most of my thinking is done, is in my car. I'm sure a lot of us can relate to that. And I think what needed to be said for today's episode is because of the why. I know the previous episode I tapped a little bit into it, but in this one I want to tap a little bit more as far as like the perspective of men's mental health. And as I've explained, I've kind of been surrounded by nothing but men throughout most of my life. Got to see all aspects of their thinking, like the receiving end of how detrimental neglecting your mental health can look like. Again, I don't want to come off as in like preaching down to anybody, because I'm not, and nobody is fully healed. We all have our own paths as far as our healing journey, and that healing journey is not linear. That's what a lot of people don't understand. And I wanted to give a bit more insight of how men the way that men's brains are kind of wired to thinking more aggressively, more like go-getter, problem solving, like very, very action oriented. I'm not saying it as a bad thing. It's just men's brains are just differently wired like than women's. Since women tend to be, but not always, focused on the emotions of everybody else, selflessness, maintaining that balance, that relationship within each other. Now, men's, on the other hand, and this comes from me, not only from my experience, but I listened to the audiobook of Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. And I really, really, I applaud this man, like the way that he kind of opened up like another viewpoint of how much different men process the world, and how I could easily see how men kind of find they struggle with communicating, not only with themselves, but with women that we're emotion based, that we're always saying, oh, I feel this, I feel that, but then certain things don't translate well in the male brain. This is not to say one's better than the other. Again, there's no good or bad. There's just everybody has their defaults, what their strengths are, and where areas to work on. And the common factors that men and women tend to have a lot of miscommunication. And the more you understand yourself, that's one piece of the puzzle. So when women, we inherently know how important it is to understand your emotions, have that emotional intelligence. This comes a bit more natural to us. Whereas for men, this is let alone put that aside about the male toxicity, masculine toxicity and all that. It's harder for men to just tap into that without some type of guidance. And it's unfortunate. My heart goes out to a lot of guys that feel that they're not being taken serious. Like this whole, how would I say, the male loneliness epidemic, about the rising statistics of how much men suffer from depression, and out of those, how many, you know, it's hard to just pick the words, but I'm just gonna say, like, how many commit suicide, and it's devastating. It's devastating from a woman's perspective, because not that we see the answer, but we kind of see outlets. We see ways of how to process it. But this is a skill for someone that doesn't know how to access, or if it's never been safe for them to access that part of themselves. I mean, it's hard on both ends. Like, the patriarchy has not done a good job for humans, because it's affected me as a woman, because I was being ashamed. I felt ashamed. I let it be shameful or embarrassing, or I assigned a meaning that it's weakness, but it's not. There's such great power in unraveling who you are and trying to, like, take apart what you're combined of, what you're made out of. So if I haven't repeated it enough as it is, like, my goal is to start the conversation with men, for them to start getting used to getting comfortable with the idea of opening up, because I know it hasn't been easy. The world has never been as open as it is now, but it still has a lot of work to do. It has a long way to go for men to feel a lot safe to be themselves, to be vulnerable, because this toxic masculinity has assigned such a very negative connotation of having to talk about your feelings, like that's such a horrible thing. But we bear witness to the repercussions of what happens when you ignore a part of yourself. You could only bottle all these emotions so far until, like, it starts showing up either physically, mentally, where you're just struggling throughout, or in any other ways. So never has it been easier, but it's still just as important that we need to keep propelling the concept of therapy. And that's my goal, to at least get men more, like, aware of other solutions, outlets. Because being stuck within your mind for so long, it's gonna take a toll. And we're seeing, like, that statistics of, like, men struggling with their mental health. It caused all the reason why I'm doing what I want to do. Like, I've been very passionate about, being an advocate for mental health, especially for men. For women, we have a strong sense of community. And that's how we find help within amongst ourselves. But for a lot of guys, we could all agree to a certain extent. Yeah, you can have the community within your buddies at work, and your whoever your community is, but there's still that pushback where there's that hesitation that you can't really tell, your homeboy all the problems that's going within your head, your own little world. And then the fact that you're combating something unnatural that feels unnatural to you, because you were always conditioned to think that you as a man, it means you cannot show weakness, you cannot show vulnerability, Because you talking about your feelings, right away they want to say, oh, you're being a little bitch, or whatever you want to say it, right? And yet now we're just seeing how much damage that's causing. So there's still a lot of work to be done. Because yes, the conversations started. Like, yes, there's more outlets, there's more talk about all these situations that require men to open up and actually talk. And I get it, it's not easy. And that's why this episode, I just wanted to take that opportunity to further elaborate why are men so against therapy. And I get it, nobody wants to be forced to do anything. There's a lot of missed opportunities out there that, from whatever our background is, more often than not, I see that a lot of men struggle with having to show this side of them, because they think that because I'm showing you, us, whoever it's listening to, that devalues me. That means no longer that I'm not a man, or whatever what feeling you're assigning that to. The whole thing about exposing your inner world. In that book, he explains how men from men from Mars think a certain way, where again, it's very action oriented, very go-getter, very getting things done. This is like that carpenter type of mentality where, okay, there's a need to build a house, let's do it. Let's go fucking chop down some wood, doing this and doing that, grab this and grab that. Let's go to war type of energy, which is all great. That's awesome. That's how your brains are naturally wired to think. What doesn't come easy for men is the fact of asking for help. And this is something that the book kind of helped me understand, that men naturally do not like showing that vulnerable part of themselves, because therefore they're assigning it the meaning that, oh, I failed, that this and that. Because if it's not broke, don't fix it. So since a lot of men think that, well, I'm just gonna suppress these feelings, whatever, just bottle it up. Again, that only takes you so far, until you're storing all those emotions in your body. And tell me how that's playing out for you. Because in this world right now, we're seeing a lot of people, for many reasons too, but we're seeing a lot of people being sick all the time. Cancers are on the rise. There's so many things, especially I believe it's the number one killer for men is if it's not suicide, it's I believe it's heart failures. Don't quote me on that, but we can't really deny that as well. Yes, talking about your feelings, it sounds very cheesy and dorky or whatever. It's awkward. I get it. Yes, it doesn't come natural to you. It's weird. It's just, that's not what, quote unquote, that's not what men do, right? So in a perfect world where we all live in harmony, there's no war and all the jazz in this utopia. This is why women need to be interwoven into society throughout, because we're the natural ambassadors for the inner world, just like how men are wired to be the warriors, the defenders of women. Women in return help men facilitate the demons that are going in our head. And I don't mean it metaphorically, I just mean it whatever ails you. Us women, we've been conditioned to suffer since the get-go. So we're used to that. Just like how there's many versions of the word strength. Our strength as a woman is to help facilitate, be like the whole emotional intelligence comes into play. We can locate it. So when we say we feel it, and it's like we literally, we know we're in our body, we're storing that, and by us sharing that with whoever it is, our community, we're able to expel that demon in a sense. I mean, I'm using kind of drastic words here. It's not as like bad, like demonic as I'm showing it, but you get the meaning, the feeling of how, like, I'm trying to convey this idea that you don't want to store anything. If your body is your temple, you know, storms happen, you tend to like accumulate dirt or whatever, and that's part of life. But it's up to you that you need to, once every now and then, you need to do a deep cleaning, like opening up all the windows, letting the air out, like cleaning everything out. That's part of life. So with all that being said, I hope that brings a bit more clarity to why I'm doing what I'm trying to do here. Because I understand, I've seen it, that it's not easy. Men have not been conditioned, and it's like men have not been conditioned to be this open. And it's depressing for me when I see that a lot of men feel that, oh, nobody cares about us. Like, you know, there's two sides to that. Like, I'm sure there's multiple factors, but I know that my messages are going to come through for those men that actually genuinely are feeling some type of like rotting inside, where it's like, oh, I need to do something. As just, I don't know what to do, how to do it. I don't know what direction. You know, I may not have all the answers, but fuck, like, I'm trying to at least steer towards like a better direction, like of what you can try. Like, I get it. Therapy may not even be financially accessible for a lot of people, but at least like the concepts that I'm talking about here it's free knowledge that, you know, if you have a cell phone, if you're listening to this, I'm sure you could Google all this stuff, figure this stuff out as well. This is free information that's out there. I'm not making it up. This is composed of like at least the 30 years that I've, you know, been living and been noticing. All this is like my knowledge, my wisdom from experience. I'm not perfect. I'm not a professional. And I understand that it's like, even the way that I'm talking, it's not very articulate. I'm not, you know, I'm not as good as like someone on the radio. I understand that. And trust me, I've had my own drawbacks of why I should even bother. Because I told myself the same things, like, oh, who's going to listen to me? You know, I'm not the greatest like motivational speaker. Like, that's not even my intentions. But I've never been able to shake that feeling that I need to speak up. There needs to be more people that like showing, like being that beacon in life, that I can't make anyone change. Nor is that my goal. Like, fuck, it's hard enough to just change oneself. So the concept of you forcing somebody to do something, like, that's impossible. Because as is, you have to go through a lot of healing just to change your own self. So I'm not trying to force anybody to, you know, drastically like, oh, you know, be vegan and do this and do that. And I'm like, no, I get it. I get why a lot of men feel that hesitation to ask for help, because automatically you guys feel like that means like, oh, this lady's gonna tell me to now I gotta do this. I gotta fucking stop doing that. And, you know, if I'm a smoker, like, I'm gonna have, like, she's gonna tell me, like, well, I mean, yeah, I'm gonna give you guidance on what you can try, but ultimately, it's all up to you. Because I could have, like, all the phrases, all the fucking, like, punchlines and everything that the Pope says or whatever, you know, this grandeur, like, philosopher. But if I tell you all those things word by word, but if you don't want to change yourself for the better, like, for, like, the pursuit of happiness, then it's not gonna matter. It doesn't matter what I say, whether, like, how good it is or not. If, you know, the saying with lead a horse to water, right? So getting into men's mental health was not, you know, in my bingo card. It was not something when I was young that, you know, on career day, that's what I wanted to be. And sure as hell not growing up, because of how difficult this field of work is, because of social stigmas and what have you. I know it's like going against the current, but nevertheless, it's something that I've been very passionate about. And whether you believe in destiny and, you know, all these external forces, and or call it God, but I've always had a lot of experiences where I have met specific people that's challenged that belief, because I doubted myself. Like, I didn't think I was smart enough, or I didn't think it was good enough, or whatever the reason is. But I always seemed to have attracted a lot of these individuals that were in a mental space where I was able to at least help them, like, facilitate their emotions a bit. And I did as best as I can. And I've always found myself, like, wishing, like, man, like, I would love to have more knowledge, more formal training, so I could better help them. But I could only take them so far. But half of the work is dependent on that person. Because just like how everyone says they want to lose weight, but are they actually truly, like, have they truly hit rock bottom where they're dead serious, like, very, like, dedicated and, like, focused on actually getting that outcome? Or are they just still need a bit more of a wake-up call to get to that point? In the end, I must be doing something right, because I wouldn't say I saved them, but I know I helped a lot of men at least guide them to a better or a different direction, help them with their emotions or whatever their problems were. It felt really rewarding, even though I wasn't getting paid for it, but it still felt good seeing that. And when you're there in the moment, you feel it. Like, I felt it, like, energetic wise. How, like, the same how a teacher sees, like, that look. There's that certain, like, aha, something that clicks, something finally, like, the missing puzzle finally fits for that person. You see it in their look. And just like how the energy shifts within that moment. Like, for me, that was really rewarding. Like, the ability for me to, I'm not perfect yet, but the ability to kind of communicate to where I'm bridging that gap between what's, like, these common topics that everyone struggles with. Everyone, needs some type of life advice, relationship advice, or career advice, whatever, right? And that's the beauty of living in a community. We're all supposed to be helping each other. Human beings are social creatures. We're not meant to be completely isolated. That's why like the pandemic really fucked us all up, because we need that. That's what builds into our these pillars that make up happiness. And we all have our own opinions of what that is. But part of that, one of those pillars is community, socializing, having that codependence and just coherence with other human beings. We're not meant to just live so isolated, because we need that verification that, hey, I'm struggling with something, and then at some point my neighbor, my cousin, or whoever is in my community, they've gone through that. And there's so much release in that feeling that someone else has gone through it, that I am not alone. And that's something that we as humans, we just we strive to feel that we're not the only ones struggling. And then from there, we help each other out. If someone has a cold, and you've been there, so you help them. And there's just that sense of rewarding when you're able to help other people when you were in that situation as well. And I get it, I'm not a professional. I'm not perfect at it, but fuck, the way that I see it is I could only get better, right? Because all throughout my life, I've always had a soft voice. I have a specific way of talking where it's a bit slower, and the way that men's brains are wired, men want answers now. Quick, get to the point and just move, hurry up. And then I had to adapt to that. And that's where my career in the blue collar industry comes in, where I adapted to that. And that's how I was able to move up in the ranks and be a supervisor and whatnot. But it was exhausting for me, because naturally I don't like to be forced into anything. I don't like to be rushed, because a lot of things, if I'm not sure about something, I will tell you, hey, this is what's going on. Let me figure this out so I could get back to you and give you a secure answer. But a lot of male industries, they it's all about action, hurry up, let's go. And right now I'm thinking of what's his face, Steve Jobs, that. He was the guy that, he was the embodiment of that, of the male brain. He was an asshole, but he gets preached out a lot because of how successful he was, because he was able to get to the point, get results, demand high, standards, this and that. But he was an asshole. He was unfair, that's where he was super into his masculinity, but he wasn't balancing out the other important modalities when it comes to communicating. So with my social anxiety, this was a huge challenge for me. And even for doing a podcast, I was oh, I don't know. Men are gonna start that's why my goal was to keep it around 20 minutes, because I know a lot of people don't have the time. Our attention span is getting shorter. But fuck it. If you really are in a desperate need where it's you're feeling shitty, there's something off, where you feel you're doing something wrong, or you should be somewhere here, or comparison, there's just all these things, all these mental things happening in your, in your head. So the ones that really need to hear my advice, like it will find a way. Like my messages will get to them, and that's my hope, that I'm able to assist those that are struggling, because I've been through there. I've gone through a lot of things. Fuck, like I was in an abusive relationship, mentally abusing relationship. And I was homeless for a minute, and it's not happy stories that I like to tell, but I'm sure other people are in that position, especially moms, single moms, or whatever the reason, wherever you find yourself. There will always be someone that's been in your shoes, or what you're dealing with right now. So I'm just doing my part to just help share my experience, and hopefully it gets something triggered in you to find hope, find that help, find something, some kind of motivation for you to do better, to get out of that hole. Because it's hard until you realize, like, I need to fucking pull myself up, like pull my sleeves up, and I gotta pull myself out, because no one's gonna come and help me. And I don't mean it like how that sounded. I'm sorry, but I just, like, the message is like, don't expect anyone to come and help you, because even then, even if someone lays it all in front of you, all the answers, it's still up to you. Like, you need to get your ass up and actually fucking do it. Like, if, again, like, example, like, if your goal is to, like, fuck, I'm tired of being overweight and I need to lose weight, no one's gonna fucking pull your ass up and make you exercise. Like, physically force you to exercise. Like, you need to fucking light a fire up your own ass and go. Do what you have to do. Like, figure what needs to be in place, what needs to work. Don't worry about it being perfect, but you need to get the fuck up and do it. Maybe you haven't hit rock bottom yet. Okay, cool. But stop finding excuses. It's great to have people to rely on to help you on your goal, but it needs to be you. You need to get your ass up and do it. Okay. So that's it for today's episode. Hopefully it helped understand a bit about my mission. This is my personal passion, and it's something that I've been good, that I've time and time again for years and years, I've found it that it's a natural, like, skill that I've learned to acquire, because it might translate better in person, that people feel very comfortable around me to, like, tell me these things. I guess the way that I look, the way that I carry myself, my work ethic, whatever the reason is. Hey, like I said, I must have been doing something right, because in my own personal experience, I've seen it a lot, and it brings me joy having to help men with whatever, like, their problems that they feel like they can't talk to their best friend, their cousin, whoever. It just makes me happy, and it's part of, like, destiny, my passion work and whatnot. And just remember, we're all going through some shit, some form or another. So if you know someone that's going through a hard time, and that you feel that they might benefit from listening to me, like, go ahead. I'd appreciate the share. And it takes a community, it takes a village. We're meant to help each other out. But unless you change something about yourself or something, nothing's gonna change in your world, in your life. So until next time. Take care. Bye.